Hi, this is Jordan Davis, and today we're talking with Bob Frank, lifelong musician whose work and passion is deep roots American music. Bob's toured from coast to coast as a guitarist with blues, folk, jazz, country, and bluegrass groups, and as a solo artist. And he's appeared on stage and in the studio with some of the greats in these fields. In his hometown, he may be best known as the guitarist and chief songwriter for Blue Lunch, the lively jump blues outfit. His most recent solo album is True Stories and Outrageous Lies, and it was nominated for a Blues Hall of Fame Music Award in 2019. In 2020, he launched his new podcast, Blues You Should Know. Welcome back, Bob. Last time we talked a little bit about how you were first turned on by the music that you love so much and that you've spent your life making and listening to and sharing with others. How you discovered it on college radio when you were a young teenager and then took the bus from your suburban home into downtown Cleveland to find the record stores that had this great music.
Yes,
And
I would go to the libraries and ask if they had any blues records or books on blues. I used to go down to Kay's bookstore. Do you remember that?
I do.
On Prospect. And I would search for old copies of English jazz magazines from the 50s and early 60s because they would have articles about blues, usually one per issue. Did all that kind of crazy stuff. Used to go down to the Salvation Army because they had a giant table loaded with 78s, old 78s, just piled up about 8 feet tall. And I'd spend whole days searching through those. Used to take the bus out to the giant tigers in the inner city, because where they sent the black records, because they would have prestige records in their bargain bin for like 59 cents. So I would do all those kind of crazy things looking and just trying to learn, It was the only way back then.
At some point, you started a band when you were in high school.
Yes.
Talk about that, but talk about what led you to the first band where you were really playing the music that you really, really loved. Everybody was on the same page.
I didn't do the thing that a lot of musicians do, which is, they play in pop bands and then they end up playing in something they like. I mean, I knew what I wanted to play and I wanted to play it in high school, and I rounded up guys and told them that's what we're going to play. They didn't really know it, but it was something to do. And so my first band was a blues band.
In high school?
Yeah.
What was the name of that band?
The Hotfoot Blues Band.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Hotfoot comes from that cartoon trope, I think, of lighting a match under somebody's shoe, or was there more to it?
I thought that there was a really early jazz band like the Hotfoot Rhythm Kings or something like that, from like the first decade of the 20th century. And I think I got it from there. But the high school band was myself. I played the harmonica. I didn't play any guitar in that band. And I remember a couple times we got to play for the whole school. It was really pretty cool.
So what happened after high school musically for you?
So I went to college. I took up the guitar. While I was at college is when I started learning to play it. And by my sophomore year, I wanted to play in a band. And I brought up a bass player named Ronnie Kimura, who was an African-American kid that I had worked in a band with over the summer. I had an interesting band here the summer of '72. It was myself, Bruce Cochran, Ronnie, and Paul Klanowski, who just died recently. And Paul had played with The Case of E.T. Hooley and Mr. Stress and all those people. And Bruce Cochran had played with Sonny Boy Williamson. So it was an interesting band. So when I went back to college, I wanted to keep playing. And I put together a band there, and we became very popular. We were playing everywhere. I mean, many nights a week we were going on the road. That was called the Nathaniel Graves Band. We had a lead guitar player named Herbie Graves, a black kid from South Philly. To this day, the best blues guitar player I've ever worked with.
That's saying a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was incredible. And this was like 73, I think. So we got us a gig, a 7-night-a-week gig at Harvard Square, or outside of Harvard Square, in a place called Charlie's. And we played literally 7 nights a week. We were making $100 a night, but 7 nights. We thought we were rich. By the end of the summer, the band fell apart. Herbie was so good that people were sniping him, coming around and trying to steal him away a lot. It happened every night. And eventually it worked. And so the band broke up. And you'll get, I don't know if I told you this story. I told the owner of this place, Charlie's, that the band was going to break up and I couldn't play there anymore. And he said, do you want to put another band together and stay playing? And I said, well, I don't know if I have time, and I'm supposed to go back to school. I think I'm going to go back to school. So he went to an agent to get another band, and they brought up a band from New Jersey.
The E Street Band.
Bruce Springsteen. And he was the guy that followed us into Charlie's place. It was when he still had an accordion in the band. It was a little more folky then. But anyway, so that was one story. So then I did put together another band after that with another guitar player. And I was playing more guitar by this point. A guitar player named Dick Ekman from New Jersey. And again, the band was starting to do really well, not as well as the first one. So I tried to start another band, only I thought I'd try to do like more commercial stuff. So I wrote a bunch of like rock and roll. I was very Stones inspired then.
Okay.
So some sort of Stone style songs. And I brought up Jeff Bradley and another fella from Cleveland, and we found a drummer. But that band never really clicked. For one thing, that sort of Stone style of rock was going out. And it was just before the punk thing was about to start.
Mm-hmm.
And the band never really clicked and didn't go anywhere. And it broke up, and then I spent one more year at college and then came back to Cleveland.
We're going to pause here. That's sort of chapter 1 on the musical trajectory of Bob Frank. Still to come, Bob's years playing and touring with the Hotfoot Quartet, including their cover single of a Devo song, Bob's work as a radio producer, his session work with storied greats like Robert Jr. Lockwood and Travis Haddix, and his 2 decades plus as guitarist with the jump blues band Blue Lunch. Bob Frank's newest album is True Stories and Outrageous Lies on Ripcat Records, and his podcast, Blues You Should Know, is available wherever you find your online listening treats. I'm Jordan Davis, and we'll see you all again in cool Cleveland.
I remember every little word you said just before you packed your stuff and walked out on me. And I remember how you looked as you were walking through the door. You always said you had to be free.